is the flag salute. And I think we have our magic fluttering flag we can put up. That's probably Susan as well.
If we can just wait a moment to confirm with Sarah that we are actually live streaming.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Thank you,
All right.
Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, then with or without our streaming flag, here it comes. It's beautiful. All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for that. And the next item then is public comment. And this is a time where if there is anybody on the line from the public who wants to make a comment on something that's not on our agenda, we will hear them for 3 minutes. If anybody is listening in and would like to comment on something that is on the agenda, we'll call on you when that agenda item comes up. So, Susan, do we have anybody on the line who wanted to comment at this point?
We do not. There are no requests.
All right, thank you for that. Then the first, or the next item on our agenda is update from the subcommittees. And as I'm sure you all recall, we did create some subcommittees last time. So let's see if any of you have anything you would like to report at this point. Excuse me about the ringing phone. And the subcommittees are local programs, outreach to underserved communities, and electric vehicles. So let's see local programs first. And I'll confess, I don't remember who all had agreed to be on that. So if you know you're on it, shoot your hand up or just start talking if you had a meeting or anything you'd like to report.
Yeah, this is Rick Paul. So the local programs, that was me and Susan and Paige. And you had asked us to create a mission statement. And so we were able to do that so far. And we have evaluate and propose potential programs to further the equitable implementation of the member organization's climate action plan.
That sounds great to me. Paige, did you want to comment on anything about this?
No, that was our mission statement.
All right, let me ask then if anybody else on the larger committee has a comment on that or a suggestion about it. If not, I think we can just accept it and ask Rick if you would send it in writing so that we don't have to rely on my or somebody else's notes on what it is.
Sure.
We can
send that.
Yeah, Dwight, I just want to point out that we did start generating a spreadsheet of the member climate action programs, so we could look for some commonalities between those.
Excellent.
In the future, we can look at programs that will hit as many of those as possible.
Great. Anything that you ran into where you could need help or something from the larger committee? Now's the time to ask.
Well, I solicited some input from Deborah, but I'll wait to get her input later.
All right, then. Thank you all for getting going. Barbara.
Oh, I was going to say, Paige, we actually have that in our meeting notes from a prior meeting. We went through the climate action plans. If you weren't able to find them or didn't have those presentations, I'll forward it to you.
Okay, that would be good. We were looking for some probably a little bit more detail, but that would be great. Thank you. I remember.
Yep.
Okay, then our next subcommittee is the outreach to underserved communities. And again, I'll confess I don't remember who's on that. So if you're on that, please just raise your hand or speak up and tell us if you had a chance to meet. Deborah.
Well, I guess I'm going to make my statement first. I thought we were going to get some kind of communication with the list of who was going to be on so that we could set up those meetings. So I'm a little bit behind. I did not see anything about that. So I think I'm on the committee, but I'm just not sure what happened between that meeting and where we are today. And I could be the only one.
I think I'll apologize for that if the direction wasn't clear. And let's just be clear. This time, Barbara and I will work and send you something so that it's clear what your mission is. But I think your mission is pretty straightforward, is to identify what underserved communities there are in our member cities that we serve, and to start sharing any thoughts that you have on what we might do to better serve them. So Barbara, can I ask you, will you follow up with Deborah and send her
I
something?
sure will. I'll send the list to the entire committee of the subcommittees with who's on each subcommittee.
Excellent, excellent. That way it won't be a memory test for me. All right, then the third committee is electric vehicles. And again, if you're on that subcommittee, yeah, Kevin.
So I'm kind of with Deborah. It was a little lost and trying to get things started. I think Jennifer is on the committee as well. So what I'd like to know is what every city has right now as far as electric vehicle charging. There are some grants out there right now that we are going after where I work at the university. And it may be helpful to see what if any city would like to participate in those grants as well. I know we recently had some Cal EVIP projects, and I'm looking at the portal and it looked like Carlsbad had canceled some reservations that they had. So I was just curious as to why, if it's a cost thing or, so I'd like to help initiate to get some charging stations installed across North County if we can. But I need to know who a point contact is at each city and what infrastructure do you have already, so we can concentrate on cities that probably don't have, as much or any at all.
Yeah, great question. And I think the answer is, and Barbara, correct me if you disagree, it's the city manager, staff person for each city that's going to be in the best position to know what they have in their city. And I assume you're looking for both public charging stations on the street or in public parking lots, but
Yes,
not necessarily for people who have plug-ins in their garages at home.
that's right. That's right. It would be good to have those numbers, but
Yeah,
I
it
think
would.
what we want to do is offer charging to the public, I believe, right, to reduce costs. And then the second part of this is education. And how do we educate people when you go to buy a car to go to talk to a salesperson or do your research beforehand to see that there are a lot of offers out there right now for electric vehicles. They're not just the $80,000 Teslas like everybody's saying. I mean, I have an electric vehicle in my garage I paid $27,000 for. So when your car times out and you go and get a new vehicle, really consider either electric or at least hybrid. And we need to educate people where the offers are for that and where they can charge if they don't have the possibility of home charging.
Very good idea. And I think a very valuable service that we could do is put together an educational talking points or something to share not only with people who are shopping for cars, but also with the dealers. I'll have to confess, I went recently looking for an electric vehicle and I was interested in the ones that do bi-directional charging, that
Yes.
you can charge your home with them as well as charge the car. And the dealers selling them, I was enlightening them. They didn't know.
They had no idea. Yeah, they have
they
no
were
idea.
painfully uninformed.
Right.
So I think that would be a good thing. It would also be nice to know what cities have, if they have special electric vehicle parking only designated. I know in Del Mar, we have some spaces on public streets designated that way. I don't know if other streets do. Don, you look like you wanted to say something.
I do. I want to join this committee. I'm very interested in EVs. On our third, I also have an electric motorcycle, and I get green car reports every day. And the landscape is changing rapidly. One big issue is whether we're going to continue to have the $7,500 rebate for EVs
So
in the future. Some of the manufacturers have already hit that spot, including Toyota and Tesla. The other thing, though, is that EVs are getting cheaper all the time, and the EV we bought 3 years ago for 42,000 is now 32,000. So as the battery technology improves, the price is going to come down, and you're talking about parity with gas-powered vehicles about 2025. That's just around the corner. So these are smart investments, not only for the environment, but economically.
So that new Green Deal that's being signed right now, that's $7,500. It's a federal tax incentive. That's coming back. So
Right.
to all. So there are a lot of offers out there. So yeah, anybody that wants to join, it'd be nice to get on board.
Well, let me just check with Barbara and make sure if Don joins that committee, we don't have a Brown Act quorum problem, do we, on that one?
Let me check my notes on that. And then I will send the contacts from each city. I'll reach out to the cities and find out who has that information.
Yeah.
And send those connect the contacts to the subcommittee members. So that everyone has that information.
All right, Don, so I'm going to indicate by consensus, you will be on that committee unless somebody has an objection or unless Barbara gives us back info that it trips a quorum requirement. I don't think it will because we've added new members and new positions. So I think you'll be fine and we'll welcome you to that. Also note for you guys, you may have seen it, but Sandag just came out with a white paper on wireless charging for cars. Very interesting. I was unaware that that was even in the works, but their description is there's two ways to do that. One is stationary. You park your car over something that charges it without plugging it in. And the other is actually while your car is moving, there's things built in the roadway that can charge your car. And they're doing an experimental program on that. And they say that if we can get it where it's feasible and affordable, that it can reduce the size of your onboard battery need for your vehicle by up to 90%. And it can distribute the power demand better across the grid than what we're doing now, which is plugging everything in at the same time of day at the same place. So if you guys want, I can send a link to that white paper that Sandag wrote if you haven't seen it and are interested in it. Let me make a note.
I'm interested.
Yeah, I have seen it. And I also these projects are up and running in Germany and Sweden. So if you want to take a field trip, I'm willing to go with you.
Yeah, great. Let's take the whole committee.
Yeah, and I can confirm the electric vehicle subcommittee. There were two members, Kevin Norris and Jennifer. So Dr. Morris, you're joining does not create an issue with a quorum.
Then you are officially on, Don.
Thank you.
Anything else from subcommittees? Is there anybody that thinks we ought to create another subcommittee? I'm not lobbying for that, but if at any point we think there's an issue somebody would like to take up and have a subcommittee for it, we can do it. And again, the strategy is since we can only meet quarterly, this is a way to get things done in between the quarterly meetings.
Yeah, and then I think it's an opportune time as well. Sarah and her team have been working on setting up the Clean Energy Alliance emails for each of the CAC members. Those will be directed to an inbox of your choosing, but that way on the public on our website, the public is emailing to an official email address and you all can use those to communicate with each other as well. But they'll be going into your inbox that you have designated to the team so that you're not having to manage a separate inbox.
Great, that will be terrific. And just as a reminder to everybody, if you do exchange emails, don't do a reply all and just keep in mind that you shouldn't share things with more than a quorum of the committee. And if you do have something you want to share with everybody, send it to Barbara and she can distribute it to the full committee. All right, I think we're ready to move on to the next item, which is the review the website updates. And Barbara, I assume that's you or maybe Trepepi or whoever's doing that.
Yeah,
hi, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair Warden. This is a follow-up from a prior agenda report. You might recall that one of our most recent meetings, we reviewed the Clean Energy Alliance website, and the committee provided some really great suggestions for us to make changes and improve our website. And many of those suggestions have been put into place. And so we wanted to report back to the committee on what's been changed. We don't want to spend a lot of time, but Sarah's going to bring up the website and just walk through what we've done. And please feel free to stop and ask questions as we go along.
All right, thank you. Sarah, the floor is yours.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. I will start off by getting my screen shared. And if someone could give me a thumbs up so I know you can see it, that would be great. Awesome.
I can see it.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will just go through the highlights. Like Barb said, we don't want to spend too much time on this, but we'll start off here on the homepage. So I know this is not here now, but at the time when we last spoke, we had some CAC vacancies where we had applications that were open, and we also just had one recently that we just took down because that application period closed. But just we had clarified some acronyms that were in there, so that we're making sure that we're tackling some of those acronyms and making sure that like anyone that might be new to the scene doesn't feel like they are getting lost in the acronym alphabet soup. So that was that. But one of the larger things that's happened on the homepage is actually the menu structure that you see up here has changed a bit. So the newest addition is this meetings and agendas. It's just so that it is more accessible. We have it in our quick links here, and it used to be under about, but it's one of those things that like most often if people are trying to join a meeting and are wanting to follow along with the agenda, it needs to be as accessible as possible. So we have that out here as its own item now. And we also added a link where people can go and view meeting recordings. So this goes directly to our YouTube page, because as some of you guys know, we're trying to get our YouTube subscriber count up. I think we're at like 83 subscribers at this point, and we need 100 to have our own unique URL. So that meaning like youtube.com/Clean Energy Alliance versus like youtube.com/ a bunch of numbers and letters. So just something that we've been working towards for a while, and we're almost there. So if any of you haven't subscribed already, I definitely encourage you to do so. So that lives here now. And let's see. Also, we did a little bit of moving around in our sub menus here. So what is CEA used to be its own standalone main menu item. It now lives under about and still carries the how it works, benefits, and FAQs. Just as a reminder, the how it works and benefits are all laid out here on the homepage as well. So there's nothing that's really being missed out on that front. But I did move the FAQs into this top navigation bar up here on the right-hand side, just so it follows you everywhere you go on the website, because I think that that's something that's extremely important as far as answering questions go. And it's something that people look for often. So that's there now. We also had a couple of changes in some verbiage for how we talk about CEA news and in the press. So in the press, it essentially covers the all of the media mentions that we have and are sent out to you guys. So we have a collection of those here. And then we also have some CEA news whenever us as an organization has news to share. That's where that goes. That verbiage just changed it a little bit. So I just wanted to make note of that. That is it really for the homepage. And then also that's it for about, except for, let me go over to boarding committee, advisory committee. One of the comments that had been noted during the last audit of the website was we had a lack of some headshots. So just to add that personal touch and aspect, we have now added headshots for all the board members. As you can see, they're all there with their smiling faces. And then they already had emails, but we have added the emails for most of the committee members. I think at this point, I mean, you can see it here, but I won't name names. Everyone's emails are set up for the most part. So forwarding, like Barb had mentioned, forwarding from this inbox to whatever inbox you had communicated to our team has been set up. So you don't have to worry about monitoring a separate inbox. This is all good to go now. So the community can access you if they need to. Scroll back up here, and I'm going to go over to our member agencies. This wasn't necessarily discussed at our last meeting, but it is a new addition to the website. We now have a service area map that's really helpful for us to visually explain the territory of the Clean Energy Alliance. And so this is a new map and a new addition to this page. Okay. And then moving over to billing and rates, understanding your bill has been updated. When we last did the audit, this bill had, it was pretty out of date. I think it was about a 2018 bill or something of that nature. it's just what SDG&E had at the time of the website being built, but we have swapped it out for a much more recent bill. Obviously, we're seeing spring of 2022, so much more recent. And we're going to be doing a little bit more adage to this. This is all of these interactive little like floating numbers are something that you can scroll over, and these little pop-ups of explanations follow each of the like with a placement and explain that certain area of the bill to help understand it better. And there's multiple pages of that. However, we're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into some of these charges. Like for some of the other CCAs that we work with, we go into a little bit more depth with like the PCIA fee and also just explaining some more of the in-depth stuff. So this is going to change a little bit more just to get even deeper into the weeds in case anyone is really interested in doing that. So that is the status of that for now. Following along my notes here. I will note, I forgot to mention on the homepage, for the your options portion of this, we changed the language here for personal impact. It used to only say net metering, which I think for the layman can be a little bit confusing sometimes. And so we just went ahead and added some language about rooftop solar in addition to net metering so that it was placed into some better context. And also we have added the average monthly bill for residents at the DR rate. So that is now listed here so people can get some context and frame of reference for what their bill would look like if they are once they're with Clean Energy Alliance. And then lastly, I don't believe this was in place by the time we talked last, but the key documents is now been placed into a regulated format that matches all the CCAs in the state. There's been some guidance that was put out by Cal CCA to structure things the same way. And so that anyone who's at any CCA at any time would be able to find these important documents on the website with no trouble. So it all looks the same on all the websites, but it's very nice and organized. And we have different documents in each of these little drop downs. Then lastly, I wanted to highlight the glossary. We now have this really thorough built out glossary to help kind of explain some of that alphabet soup that we see sometimes in the language that we use. So if anyone is curious about learning about any of those key terms that you'll see on our webpage or maybe our mailers, all of that has gone into a lot of depth on this page. So it's a nice dictionary for the CCA space and Clean Energy Alliance in general. So those are the quick highlights I wanted to cover today. I am available for any questions you may have, and I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Sarah. That was very good. Let's see if we have any questions from committee members or comments. Paige?
I just want to say that I really like having the costs on that for each of the options there. That's really helpful because people can see that it's not that much more for the 100%. That was really an addition. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else with a question or comment? I'm not seeing one, so let me ask you.
Chair,
I'm sorry.
Committee member Shade has her hand up.
Yes, okay. Deborah, is that you? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the understanding your bill page. And so when you get down to the bottom of this and it has that little yellow hyperlink at the very bottom, it says learn more about the PCIA fee. Where is that coming from out of the bill that they would be looking at on this page? Like, is that something that they see and now they want to learn more about it, or why is it there?
So, Barb, I'm not sure if you want to take over as far as the placement on the bill, but at times the PCIA fee is actually listed, and it's a confusing line item for people because it's a very complicated subject. So when that does appear on these bills, it's something that we just opened the PDF where it actually links to, and it goes into a lot of depth to explain what's going on there.
Yeah, if you go back to the bill, Sarah, so the next page of the bill has the delivery, and it's listed there towards the bottom of that page is PCIA. I think that link, though, if you scroll down that box, that it just stays on the understanding your bill on both pages.
Yeah. I guess I would highlight that on the bill, make that another hyperlink. You know how you have the number link right where it says PCIA?
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
also think down where it says learn more about the PCIA fee, I would put in brackets the long version of that. Because when you look on the first page of the bill, it's not even listed, and it's just confusing.
Sure.
So it just seems like that right there would be an opportunity to, not use the acronym or use the acronym in brackets or the other way. And then put the hyperlink on page 2 where the fee actually exists as number, I guess that would be number 6 or something like that. That might,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. I'm just a small detail.
Yeah.
Trying to make it user friendly. That's all. But I like the work you've done. I really like the languages. There's a lot of really great stuff going on. So thanks for all your work.
Yeah. Thank you for catching that. And we'll take care of that. Super easy fix.
Thank you for that, Deborah. Good point. Anybody else want to make a comment or a question? I'm not seeing anybody, but just interrupt me if you do. I wanted to ask one, and I'm going to summarize this and then ask Barbara to fix it if I goof it up. But SDG&E's rates are going down in the near term, which we think is a mistake, and we protested. Their rates are going down. It seems inevitable they're going to have to come back up starting next year. But my understanding is that we, being Clean Energy Alliance, are required to do a joint mailing to all the customers that show the SDG&E rates next to our rates. And this is a bit problematic because their artificially low rates and our accurate rates are on that letter. So the question is this going to be somewhere on the website, an explanation of this, or should it be there, or what's our plan for addressing that?
Thank you, Chair Warden. The board did discuss it at their last meeting, and they touched briefly on having something on the website, but didn't really give specific direction. And they felt like, it's a temporary situation. They didn't want to highlight it. So when the mailers go out, we post the mailers to our website. And so at that time, I think we will go ahead and put something on there that talks about, the current state of the rates and where we think they're going to be going.
Okay, and when do we expect that mailer is going to go out? Do we know?
The mailers are required to be received by September 1st. So they'll be in the mail the last week of August.
Okay,
They'll also, in addition to being mailed out, for those customers that have email addresses on file, they will be emailed out to save the cost of postage, but also not use a lot of paper. So we're going to email for those customers that have email addresses and then mail those that we do not.
All right, thanks. And let me ask Barbara, can you take another minute and just summarize for people on the committee who might get asked questions by constituents about how come the SDG&E rates went down and yours didn't? What's the elevator speech about our response?
Yeah, and actually, let me go ahead and just bring up my presentation from our board meeting because it has points, and I will then make sure you all have it so that you have the talking points available. On June the 1st, SDG&E did implement a rate change that was a rate decrease. And the decrease, we along with San Diego Community Power, did file a protest on the basis of the rate change being not representative. It was not based on current assumptions. I can share my screen now. One moment. Okay, and I'm probably going to have to stop and start. So it was approximately 4% rate decrease. We filed our protest together with San Diego Community Power. And the basis of the protest were several points. One is that the rates were based on outdated assumptions. They did not take into account the reduced customer base that they're now serving. And so by doing that, it inflates what revenue they're going to generate and results in a rate decrease. The rates are also not reflective of the current market conditions. The cost of electricity tracks fairly closely to the changes in the gasoline market because gas is an input to producing electricity. And, as we all know, gasoline while it's starting to ease up a little bit, has gone up significantly over the past 6 months or so. And so a rate decrease is not reflective of the current market. And having rates that are not reflective of the current market will result in SDG&E not collecting sufficient revenue to cover their costs. And in fact, they have acknowledged that. And just within 30 days of implementing this rate decrease, they have notified the PUC that they now are under collecting. They're not collecting sufficient funds to cover their costs. So we did file that protest, and the PUC agreed with us. So the process that SDG&E goes through when rates change is they file an advice letter with the PUC, advising the PUC of the change. There are different levels of advice letters, which establish the process that the PUC goes through and review. This was filed as a tier 1, which means in essence, there's really no review and it's a rubber stamp. And so the PUC set aside the advice letter. So they didn't approve the advice letter, but the rates still automatically went into effect. So the PUC is still in the process of reviewing, and it's possible that they could determine that the rate decrease should not have gone into effect, and would then direct SDG&E to change the rates back. And I did see a hand raised, and I don't know if
yeah, Deborah's was up and back down, but Deborah, if you'd like to say something, please.
Well, it's just a general comment. I think that's kind of big news for the committee. I mean, our committee, and also being able to have that conversation with our constituents. So I'm just wondering, like on things like that, which to me is kind of like the no surprises rule, it would be great to get something about that, or I don't know if maybe everybody is attending. I know I've attended most of them, but did not attend the last one of our core board meeting. But I really appreciate Chair Warden asking, because that review I think is really helpful for us. But would like to, like on those emerging issues, it would be nice to make sure that we get informed, like something on the agenda, like emerging issues or something like that, so that we just don't have the information to share with our residents. That's all.
All right, point taken. And I see Elizabeth Mitchell has her hand up, our new lawyer.
Thank you, Chair Warden. And I didn't get a chance to introduce myself to those committee members who I haven't met yet. My name's Elizabeth Mitchell. I'm the new Assistant General Counsel for Clean Energy Alliance. I just wanted to, as a point of order, we're on item 2, which is website updates. It seems like this discussion might be more appropriate in item 3 about outreach to and strategies for our new members. So it might be good to refocus on the website and then continue this discussion in item 3.
All right, valid point. And I think the answer website related was I was asking whether anything about this topic would be on the website, and it sounds like the answer to that is no, at least at the moment. But we can discuss it further under the next item, if that sounds good, Barbara.
And Chair Warden, I will say the presentation that I was walking through is from our board meeting. That is on the website, and it is part of the board meeting documentation. I will send it out, but so there is information on our website. It's just not specifically called out. So we want to be very thoughtful about how we communicate. But yes.
Good. And I don't want to close this topic at this point. We'll take it up under the next item. But let's see, does anybody have anything else specific to the website that they wanted to ask about or comment on? Personally, I thought the headshots, what a good looking bunch. Better not put our pictures up there. It'll just, the law of averages will get us. I like the layout. I like the email stuff. I think the revisions, Sarah, that you and Trepepi have made are all good. I assume there will be another round of these as we welcome the new cities that we haven't really integrated fully into the website yet, correct? And I did notice in the one map, the current members are a bluish color, and then Escondido and San Marcos are a different color.
Correct.
And I'm assuming Vista and Oceanside will shortly be that same different color. Is that what's happening?
Correct. Yeah. So once the new board members are sworn in, we'll add them to the website. We'll add their city logos to the website. We'll start to integrate them once they're sworn in. And then come next year, when those communities launch, when Escondido and San Marcos launch, we will change their color.
All right, very good. The last question I had, and I asked Barbara about this a little bit in advance about metrics. Do we have any updated metrics on website hits and clicks throughs, and also for the Clean Energy Alliance currents? But maybe the currents is better under the next agenda item on outreach to see how we're doing with the currents. But do we have anything on the website specific in terms of metrics that would be informative?
We do. And Sarah, do you want to bring up the dashboard?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pass it over to Ali and Ali. Everyone, I don't think that they have participated in the meeting before, so I just want to introduce you to my colleagues, Allison Torres and
Hi, Ali, welcome.
So we have a fun naming game for y'all. We have two Allies, but they're really great, and they are the ones that are behind the scenes with myself doing all this work. So I'm going to pass the mic over to them.
All righty. Allies, take it away.
Let me go ahead and get the screen share set up here. We're both Allison too. So if you want to call Allie Nichols Allie and me Allison, that might help things out here a little bit. But let me know when you can see my screen as well. We good to go?
It's just very small.
Let me zoom in here. Is this better? Yeah, okay. So just running through our dashboard, I'm not sure if anyone on the committee has seen our dashboards before. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. But we collect monthly metrics, and we keep about a year's worth of metrics at a time. So from here, you can see July 2021 to July 2022. So from that time, we've gained over like 200 followers, and currently right now we are doing a followers campaign in order to drive additional followers. So we're putting some money behind social media posts in order to let people within the cities that we're launching into and currently running in that we have social media, and that if they want to stay up to date on everything CEA, then they can follow us. So that's why you've seen a decently significant increase for the last like month or so. The last 2 months was pretty stagnant, but the last month, like we have seen an increase there. And same thing for the number of posts here. We're just tracking on those numbers. For reach and engagement, in case you wanted to see that, we have, because of the money that we've spent on the social media posts, we have a significant increase on the reach and impressions and on the engagement for the month. The engagement for the month is a little bit behind, but that's just from YouTube. YouTube, we didn't run any ads, so that's why the engagement is a little bit behind. But here are some charts in case you want to visualize it. Sometimes our social media can go up and down and it looks a little wonky at times, but most of the time it's relatively stable from month to month. And then here are some top social media posts that we also track on. So we track the top 3 social media posts for each month. This past month was pretty common of having our, this graphic right here was our follow us on social media graphic. And then we highlighted some community workshops, and then we also highlighted our new member agencies. So those tracked really well this past month. And then moving down here was the question of why I brought this up. Here's the constant contact metrics, which is our monthly newsletter metrics. So comparing to the industry average, we are doing relatively and very well. The average open rate for the month of July, and for July, we did have 1 post-board meeting newsletter and 1 pre-board meeting newsletter. Ali, correct me if that's incorrect, but I'm pretty sure we had 2 newsletters. So this is an average of both of those newsletters combined. For the average open rate, we were at 49%, with the industry average of our industry here is like government agencies is only 35%. So we're tracking well above that. And then for total clicks, we were at 5%, which total clicks is just the amount of people that are clicking on links throughout the agenda or throughout the newsletter, which is typically clicking on the agenda and news articles that we link there. So we're well above industry average as well. And then this was interesting that we noted for this past month, nobody viewed our newsletter on a mobile telephone. Everybody looked at it from the desktop. So that's just something interesting to note. While we continue to tailor our newsletters, we're just going to keep that in mind. And then for website analytics, this is the July numbers as well. So for sessions, and sessions are the amount of times a unique user will visit the website. We are tracking at just under 2,500. And then from Facebook, the amount of times that a person on a Facebook post or a Facebook link clicked on the website was 17 times. So they were redirected to the website from there. Instagram, it was 1 time, and then Twitter was 9. And so the top links from the website as a whole, of course, it would be the homepage because that's where everybody lands. And then this month was relatively high. And I think that's just as we did boosted posts and social media posts behind it. I think people were just a little bit concerned about what CEA is because this might be the first time they've heard of it. And then we had residential rates as our 3rd highest. Under social media, our 2nd highest here was the board and committee advisory page. So again, like people checking out the agendas or people getting to know who the board members are. And then we also include notable media mentions. So all of the stories that Allie Nichols sends you over the past month or so, we track those as well here. So that's just a quick overview of the dashboard report and what we track on a month-to-month basis. We do send these to Barb. So if you ever have any questions on how our social media is doing or website or constant contact, then Barb will have that information monthly. Is there any questions on this information?
Well, let's see if there are. And just for the record, we're basically talking agenda item 3 at this point and 2. Together, unless Elizabeth tells me we can't do that. We're talking about the website and our outreach strategies. So let's see, does anybody have questions? She just presented us with a whole bunch of data. Deborah.
2 questions. Well, the first one just has to do about generating your users. And I just wanted to ask you what your strategy is to build those numbers, bigger. Then my second one had to do with, we discussed adding LinkedIn as another social media outlet, especially since we're going to be looking at hiring, and we can do, you can get jobs out on that if we're part of LinkedIn. And also it's a very professional way to communicate with other people in this space of clean energy and climate action. So I just wanted to see if there was any movement with that, or where we are on that decision.
Yeah, thank you for those questions. Really quickly, I saw Elizabeth's hand up, so I just want to make sure we're okay to continue talking about this.
Well, I think at this point, the discussion is still related to the website, and Chair Warden, you did mention combining the 2 items. It would be better to try to just go in order. That way, if we have any public comment that was addressed to particular agenda items, those can be noted by the secretary when it comes up.
All right, thank you for that. We'll follow that advice. So for the moment, we'll be focusing on the website. And Allison, if you want to go ahead and answer the question from Deborah, that would be great.
Yeah, sure thing. So for the website, are you asking how we're generating users for that website or for the social media platforms?
Yeah, I do not have a question about the website, so you can take me off. I'll wait till we get to the other topic.
Okay.
All right. Paige?
Yeah, Allie, I just wondered, you referred to newsletter a couple of times. What is our newsletter?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've been receiving through your email box the CEA currents, but we send a executive newsletter out before each board meeting and then after each board meeting to let the board and the community advisory committee just know about what's coming up, give some background on items that might be a little bit more complicated, like the regulatory items. So we'll send that out, and then we'll also send the recap email out to just say, here's everything that happened, here's what the board approved, and here are the next steps. So those are the emails that we send out.
And I'll just add that we also made sure that all board and committee member email addresses have been added to that distribution list. So if you're not receiving that, please let us know and we can troubleshoot with you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Dawn, and then back to Deborah.
I just want to comment that the constant contact open rate of 49% is really high. We have the Sandpiper open rate is about 55%. That's local news, which covers a lot of different topics. So to get that high for CEA, which is sort of a wonky topic, is really pretty amazing.
Thanks for that, Don. Deborah?
So point of order, I guess, is I feel like, I'm not sure what just happened with my question, because that what is being presented is not on, I don't see it on the agenda. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe item number 2 should have included our social media metrics as part of that agenda item, because I don't know where to ask my question then.
Well, go ahead and ask your question,
Okay.
and then we'll figure out what to do with it.
Okay, I've already asked it. I just was wondering what the strategy was to build the user click rates within our social media platforms. And the second one was about LinkedIn, and where we were in terms of adding that as one of our social media strategies.
And I think those both fit under agenda item 3 as to San Marcos and Escondido, and we can talk about them there if that sounds okay with Elizabeth. Other questions? We're still talking about the website now at the moment. Deborah, your hand is still up. Did you have another question about the website? Okay, thanks. I had one for Allison. I know some of these tracking devices now, there are automatic opening platforms that are on some people's user end. And can we tell that high open rate, are those for real, or are some of those these bot automatic openings?
I would say that this newsletter is only going out to about 50 people or so, and it's just the board and the committee members, and then a couple of just high-level executives within cities. So I don't think that they would have bots installed, considering we're not sending out to like a mass email. So I think that this open rate is pretty, what's the word? It is accurate to what we're actually seeing here. So yeah, if we were sending it out to like the 43,000, then that would be a totally different case. We're only sending it out to the executive newsletter list. So I would say the 50 people that we're sending it are actually opening it at a high rate.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. One other question on the website before we move on. Do you, either of the Allies or Barbara or Sarah, have an opinion? Is there anything we can and should be doing specific to the website to increase its functionality and click rates?
I will turn that question back to Sarah, since she's like our in-house website guru.
All right, Sarah.
So as far as I think that some of the discussions that we've had in the past, especially at the last meeting, it was a more robust audit of the website. There are some areas of the website that I think that we could make a little bit more rich with content. And we've talked about this before, and I think we have plans to do this in the future, especially once we've done some comparison to our neighbor, the other San Diego Power Authority. So all I have to say is, like, when it comes to like energy conservation tips or like flex alerts, I think that we're starting to turn our attention toward how we can make sure that that is a more digestible, I guess, slate of information. So we have some ideas about how we can improve things, and it's kind of just one of those slower processes as we move through some more important updates that come through. Like, for example, the rate change with SDG&E, like some of those things kind of start to take precedence, but slowly but surely we're making the website just more robust in general, with the addition of the new interactive understanding your bill and then the glossary. So we're kind of building on itself. And when we get that kind of content, we can take that and take it off in little pieces. And that's what we can use as social media content. So, for example, a post could say something along the lines of, has the alphabet soup of the CCA world or the CCA world ever confused you? Like, if it has, like, check out this glossary and kind of educate yourself on these terms to make you an expert in the field, or things like that. So when we make the website more rich in content, it gives us some more content to use on our other platforms. And that usually starts to suss out some more information that's a little bit above baseline, as far as, here are your options, here's what they do. It provides customers something to hold on to, as far as like, that piece of information stands out to me. It means something to me beyond what my options are here at Clean Energy Alliance. So once we kind of start to do that, and we already have, like, we're kind of climbing that ladder, and just as CEA grows, we're going to continue to make it a more robust website with rich content to be able to drive some more website traffic through those social media platforms that we use to distribute it.
Yeah.
All right,
And
thank you for that, Sarah.
Chair-
Barbara?
Yeah, Chair Warden, I would also add that, as we develop, our subcommittees come up with information and ideas, and we start building the programs and the electric vehicle and have more information that I think is interesting and would be valuable to the public. That will also, to Sarah's point, give us an opportunity to advertise that information through our social media and drive traffic to our website, and it becomes more valuable to the communities that we serve.
Excellent point. And let me encourage all of the committee members, as you're thinking through the topics that are of interest to you that you're working on, keep in mind also, how might these be adapted to the website or to our social media? And if you're not sure how, you can always just share your thoughts with Barbara and she can share them with Sarah. But it sounds like the website is being worked on, and we don't need to light a fire under that, other than to let you know that the committee is willing to be a sounding board when you come up with ideas and thoughts about it. Anything else on the website? If not, let's move to agenda item number 3, which is.
And I just want to thank the committee for their input that has taken here, and the continuing input is very valuable, and we really do appreciate the thoughts and comments, because that helps us to build a better tool for our customers.
Yep, very true. And so if you have an idea and you're not even sure it's a good one, send it to them. They know where the trash can is if it's not, but you never know. It might be a good idea. All right. Elizabeth, did you want to make a comment?
Thank you, Chair Warden. Can we just confirm we don't have any public comment on this?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding me of that. Susan, do we have anybody on the line who wanted to make public comment on agenda item 2 about the website?
We do not. We have no requests.
All right, thank you for checking. And Barbara, did you want to introduce item 3 for us?
Sure. So the next item, wait for Sarah to take down her screen share, or.
Oh, that's Allie.
Okay. So our next item for discussion, oh, this is the wrong presentation, hold on. The next thing that we want to talk about, which comes out of our work plan, is our outreach and communication strategy with regards to Escondido and San Marcos. They are the next group that we will be begin serving in April of 2023. You might recall that as part of enrolling customers, because customers are automatically enrolled, we do have 4 mailers that we're required to do. And those mailers are a regulatory compliance item. They are, not, we have to have the language and the content approved by the PUC. And they're not really marketing. I don't consider them a marketing tool so much as a compliance obligation or requirement. The 4 mailers will be going out during the months of February and March, which is just prior to the April enrollment. And then within 30 days of enrollment, so starting at the end of April and rolling through May, we will be mailing out our last 2 mailers. And then the enrollment occurs throughout the month of April. So all customers don't start April 1st, they actually start on whatever day their billing period ends. So if you look at your bill, you might notice that your billing period might run, July 2nd through August 1st, or July 15th to August 14th. They're broken up. Customers have all different billing periods, and so they'll enroll with us at the end of that billing period. So the first, I think what we wanted to do to spur discussion is to really think about, what are our lessons learned from Carlsbad, Del Mar, Solana Beach, when we enrolled and did our outreach and education with regards to those. What do you think went well? What do you think can be improved? I'm going to stop sharing just to open it up so we can have discussion. But, some of what we did as a reminder is we had our mailers, but we also had very targeted meetings. We did presentations to the Chamber of Commerce. We met with various associations, mobile home park group that had specific questions and needs. We met with an electric vehicle association. We met with some other types of different community groups. And those tend to be, I think, valuable because when you're invited, there's a different level of participation than if we do a town hall and hope we have people come and join us. But so those are the types of things that we did do actively. We also, it was during COVID, so we couldn't really do much in the way of in-person boothing or being at events. Cities weren't really having events at that point in time. So we didn't do much in person, which we're really hoping we can do this time around. And I have invited or asked the two Allisons and Sarah to help guide us through this discussion, as they're our communications and marketing team, and I think will help us to gather input as we start to create our planning for our growth into Escondido and San Marcos. So Chair, I think we do have a question.
Yeah, we do. And Don, why don't you go ahead, and then Allie's, you guys will go next and tell us what you think we need to know, and then we'll open it up for more questions. So Don?
I was going to make a comment because I was involved with Climate Action Campaign in both the rollout of San Diego Community Power and in Del Mar with the CEA rollout. And the most important point I learned was that we needed to very actively combat misinformation. And I think the misinformation problem will probably be much less now that we have established CAs and the program's been quite successful. But I did want to mention that the two arguments that got traction against joining the CEA were, number one, that city governments are incompetent and can't run anything well, and you shouldn't trust something as important as electricity purchase to your local government. And the second argument that got traction was a weird one. It was that if you sign up with a CCA, you're abandoning SDG&E, and they won't provide service to you if your power goes down. And even though that argument is totally wrong, it got the most traction and generated the most opposition, not only in Del Mar, but in several other communities. So I just want to emphasize that, in the intervening 3 years since the period I'm talking about, which was just before the pandemic, I think the power of misinformation has grown dramatically. And any outreach campaign needs to, I think, take that into account.
Very important point. Barbara, did you want to comment on that, or the Allies? What is our strategy for commenting contradicting misinformation?
Yeah, so the way that we, so a lot of those come through the Nextdoor and those types of, in Facebook. And so one thing that we did, and we will do again this time, is the Community Advisory Committee had tools, fact sheets, talking points. And I do recall a few of the committee members, when they were having these conversations with folks online, they were able to address the misinformation, and were able to, we saw that others that were viewing that and then responding were saying, positively saying, okay, I see what you're saying, or yes, and I think the most important thing is to get the word out is to encourage people to investigate it for themselves and not rely just on what one single person did. The other thing that we did is we would look at what seems to be the trending topic, and then we would gear our social media and our communications to that particular topic. So if somebody's concerned about rates, or concerned about the lights going out or being more unreliable, we would develop a talking point on that and put that out in our social media. So we would use that information to help guide our communication.
All right, thank you for that. Let's open the floor to people who want to comment on outreach strategies specific to San Marcos and Escondido, which is what's on our plate. So Paige, I think I saw you, but you kind of jumped around on my Hollywood Squares screen here. But Paige, you, and then Rick after that.
When you start doing the public outreach, it would be nice to have a calendar so those of us who want to participate can sign up for specific events.
Yes, we actually are hoping that we have a good participation from our Community Advisory Committee to the extent that they can assist, because we do anticipate the opportunity to be in person at events and activities where there will be large gatherings of the communities, and we want to have a presence there. So we will definitely have a calendar that we will maintain and share, and be seeking volunteers to assist with those events.
All right, thank you for that, Paige. Rick.
Yes, thank you. So I have a couple of comments, but I also have a question. They're the mailers that are going to go out. You said they're required. Are they going to have contact information?
They do, and let me share my. Let me go back to the website and share my screen, because we actually have the mailers that we from the enrollment of Carlsbad and Del Mar under our key documents, I believe. Yep, under mailers. So let me share my screen real quick so you can see what they look like. And we did produce them in English and Spanish.
Very good.
So this is the informational side. So we put as much information as we can about what Community Choice Energy is about. We have our website. We have our customer call center there. We also have it in Spanish. And then we describe how it works and what the benefits are. But we also have to let customers know that they can opt out, and how they, what their opportunity is, or how they can opt out. And then the second page, this is what you might call the fine print. And this is information that the PUC requires of us. And so we have all this various different sections that addresses the enrollment, tells customers they will be automatically enrolled unless they opt out, and how to opt out, their rights with regards to opting out. Where we need to talk to them about billing, that they will still receive the single bill, the failure, what happens if they fail to pay, and also addresses the care program.
Okay, so the reason I asked about contacts is I'm thinking specifically about this group, and you make it much more local. If you say the residents in Escondido have a question, they can talk to one of their Escondido representatives or whatever. So whether you put our contact information or you put the link to the page on the website that has the contacts for the different communities, I think that would be a good idea. So then they're not just calling an 800 number and who knows who they're going to get. They can actually speak to someone in Escondido or someone in San Marcos that maybe they know. And then I wanted to mention, so I believe Escondido has 4 Rotaries, and those might be groups that you might want to get invited to make a presentation for. And there's also an organization in Escondido called CAFE, Community Alliance for Escondido. And it's a network of all of them, but of maybe 100 nonprofits in Escondido. And there's an email blast that's put out all the time. And so the CAFE is a great contact for dispersing information in Escondido. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great information. And if you happen to have contacts for either any of the 4 Rotary clubs or CAFE that you don't mind sharing, that would help us as well.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that, Rick. Good suggestion. Sarah, your hand is up.
Yeah, so just to help us guide this conversation a little bit more, and kind of Rick already started us off, I was hoping to get some feedback from all of you as to, in terms of maybe groups or in-person events that happen to be particularly popular in your cities that we might be able to take advantage of, since you guys are kind of the local boots on the ground resources that we have. We're hoping you could identify some of those for us.
Yeah, and if I could add, even regional events.
Mhm.
So we would be looking at likely with an April enrollment, we don't want to get too far ahead of that enrollment because people will forget. So we're likely looking at towards the end of this calendar year, beginning of next calendar year to start the in-person. And then the mailers will start going out in February and they'll be able to make that connection.
All right, so the floor is open, particularly for those of you who are Escondido or San Marcos people, but to anybody who has a good idea to throw some ideas out on how we can best reach those folks. Jennifer.
So having school-age children, the first thing that comes to my mind as far as community events is there's often like fall festivals at the elementary schools. For example, Carrillo Elementary, which is technically in Carlsbad, but it serves San Marcos residents, has Fall Bash. I don't know if that would be too soon, but it's usually in October, and we invite different vendors to come. So it might be, that might be an opportunity to set up a small table where people can ask questions. And I know a lot of the other schools in the area have similar festivals.
Thank you for that. Kevin?
So another event, I don't know if it would be the right event or not, but we have a farmer's market every week. We could talk to people there if we had a booth or something set up.
Good idea. Jennifer, back to you. I see your hand is up again, I think.
Yeah, I forgot to take it down, but actually I just was thinking about, so San Marcos has a couple of like holiday events that are really popular. They have a tree lighting, and there's a lot of artisan vendors there. So I don't know if that might be a good time to have a table, but it does attract a large crowd of San Marcos residents.
Good idea. And let me ask a question to Barbara. There's a pretty heavy college and community college presence in these cities. Are they direct access customers, or are they going to be customers of ours? And is it appropriate to have a specific outreach to Palomar, Miracosta, Cal State San Marcos?
I don't have that information from SCG yet, but I will by the end of August have that information. But if they are going to be our customers, certainly, any it would be helpful to know, what are the I don't call them influential, but what are the larger companies or school districts, or how do we what would be an effective way to reach out to them, but also to who they serve.
Yeah, good. All right, Rick, back to you, and then Deborah.
Yeah, so events in Escondido, there's the Grape Day event is really popular. There are a spring and a fall street fair that are really popular. And then the Christmas parade. Those would be the community events that are most popular.
Great. All right, Deborah, and your question that you posed before is still on the table if you want to bring it up again, or if you have
No, I don't think it's appropriate for this conversation. It was about the last topic. I think on the school district thing, I can assist in that. I think would be really important to connect with board members and superintendents of each district, and then let them get their sites on board. I know we did that with when we were reaching out with Carlsbad, Del Mar, and Del Mar doesn't have any, but Solana Beach. And it was pretty effective. We had one-on-one meetings with the superintendent, a couple of board members, and somebody from CEA. So I'm happy to help with that. But I think that's your easiest way into the school facilities.
Yeah.
Good suggestion.
And I do want to touch on your question about LinkedIn, because I do think that's an effective way to reach our business communities, because that is kind of the social media platform for businesses. And, I think having a presence there and having information about the enrollment and we're coming and what are we doing, I think will be very, very valuable in connecting with our business community.
All right, Sarah, back to you. I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I was gonna do the same thing. I still wanted to answer your questions. So I second what Barb said. I think that even just talking about this and starting the networking processes that are involved and getting involved with some of these clubs and organizations that are in your community, some of those will have LinkedIn. So I think it's totally appropriate for CEA to have a presence there, and we can work on that with Barb. And then secondarily, your question about how we increase followers on social media. So like literally right now, we're in the middle of a social media followers campaign. Ali had kind of mentioned, but we have put some budget money behind a couple of posts that are targeted at asking people to follow us on our different platforms. And Ali, if you want to add to that, you can, but this is our first time doing that. So this is all the other growth that you've seen on that chart that she shared earlier is all organic growth. And that's just been attained through the city of Carlsbad sharing our posts, which is very helpful. Any of our member cities, whenever they share our posts, it kind of gives legitimacy to Clean Energy Alliance. So that's always very helpful. We've done tabling at a couple of events in some of our cities where we have had some sort of prize, like if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, here's a little swag, and we have some swag that we've given out before. So all of that up until now has been organic growth. And then right now we are putting some dollars behind that to try and kind of up our social media following. And those are targeted at the way it works is a radius around the cities that we serve, and that's essentially the ads being populated in each of their feeds for people in that zip code radius. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm happy to answer any other question you might have about it.
Yeah, and I can follow up on that a little bit more, especially because this item or your question does make sense to this item, because the reason why we decided now was the time to put a little bit of money behind social media is because we know that we're going to be gaining some new cities, and we want to grow our recognition in those cities and just in the territory as a whole. And then with that, like besides social media, what else like we're doing is trying to partner with cities to have them reshare our posts, because that's always a great way. Like Sarah was saying, like networking more within the cities that we're currently in to try to build that community base. Because while like putting money towards something is great, ultimately we want to make sure that we have like roots set within the cities that we're in. So we had a couple of ideas too there. So I don't want to completely stray away, but like we are brainstorming behind the scenes ways that we can continue to build our organic growth while like having synergy by building developing like relationships with our cities.
Thank you for that, Ali. Don.
Yes, I'm going to come back to Dwight's comment about the colleges, all the educational institutions in Escondido and San Marcos area. If they are direct access customers, they may need to evaluate whether that makes economic sense in the future. So that's a conversation that should be had. I know for the fairgrounds, we would have been better off not renewing our direct access contract, because with high usage days, we pay so much to SDG&E that our annual bill is higher than if we were a regular customer. So I suspect that the colleges may have the same problem. The rates for direct access have gone up, tripled to quadrupled in the last year. So there is no cheap energy to supply these direct access customers anymore. So it's a conversation that needs to be part of the outreach.
Does everybody understand what a direct access customer is, what we're talking about here? Okay, so it looks like everybody does. Thank you for that, Don. And I think, Barbara, let's just put a marker on our agenda there at some point to reach out to them and see, are they direct access customers? And if they are, and when are their renewal dates? And do they want to have a discussion with us about the options to evaluate that? Sarah, back to you.
All right, just to continue to guide this conversation along, I think that's some really great feedback and input as far as in-person events and organizations that we might be able to participate in. Aside from that, does anybody have any other thoughts or inspirations behind other outreach items or avenues that you think would be helpful, just considering the lessons that we have learned that Barb kind of mentioned from some of our other launches. Just want to open the floor up away from in-person stuff to see if there's anything else that you might want to give us feedback on.
All right, let's go to Jennifer and then Deborah.
So I just had a quick question. Once we leave this meeting and we start thinking about, I think there's probably going to be just things that come into my mind. Would we just email Barbara if we think of an outreach idea? Okay.
Yes.
That was all.
That's the easiest. All right, Deborah.
One idea I had was, I put at the top of my list, disqualifying rumors, which I think is what Dawn was talking about, trying to get ahead of that. Is it possible for us to almost write an article and get it in a very local paper about, sort of front load the material out there? I know you can do it with the Solana Beach Sun, Carmel Valley News. Very easy to get that content in, but I don't know what's available in San Marcos and Escondido. But if there is, that's an opportunity to tell your own story. And it's always better to get your own story out there than trying to fight from the other side.
If I may, Barb, I have a couple of suggestions as how we can maybe approach that. Okay, so we do have a publication. So Coast News has an inland edition that serves that more North County inland area. So they cover the San Marcos Escondido area, and we have some experience with that publication. So that would be one to go about that route. But otherwise, something that we've done in the past with even just local governments, whenever there's a special topic that comes up and it's controversial, something that we've done on websites is like a fact check. So if it's a rumor that seems to be gaining popularity, we could do like a fact check page that essentially lists the rumor that's being said, or just in a very simple way, like a sentence or two, and then we have the actual fact check. So it explains just essentially debunking what the statement is saying, or just redirecting and inserting truth into that conversation. And it's a really helpful way to maybe, if for when you guys are having conversations with people in the public, you can point them back to that page. If you have some questions, we do have resources to address those concerns that you have. Here's this website. I encourage you to go explore that and do some research on your own, the way Barb had kind of framed it before. So that's a suggestion that I've seen in the past. Open to your feedback on that.
Yeah, and I think for us, I'm following Jennifer's comment, if you have a suggestion, send it to Barbara and she can route it to the right person, whether that's Sarah or Trepepi or whomever. All right, Allison.
If I could just jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
With that, the feedback, the very specific feedback about, actively combating misinformation, and then the examples of city government being incompetent, or what happens when the lights go out, are you going to be served, is really important. And what we're concerned, or misinformation that gained traction in Del Mar and Carlsbad may not necessarily be the same as what might gain traction in Escondido and San Marcos. So as our advisory committee members from those cities, as you talk to people and you hear people say, well, I don't really want to become part of it because I think my rates are going to go up, or I think I don't really believe in, that they're buying green energy. Or if you hear certain topics, if you can let us know, because that will really help us to develop articles that will resonate and address issues that might be something specific to your communities. So I just share that you will hear people say things to you about, why they don't think it's a good idea, or why they may not want to be part of it. One recurring top concern that we still have, when people contact us to opt out, we do ask them why. And one of the top reasons still continues to surface at the top is they didn't like being automatically enrolled. Now, the enrollment happened a long time ago, and it's still a top reason. They've just figured out they've been enrolled. They didn't like being automatically enrolled. So we'll make sure we put something out way ahead that talks about why do I have to do something to opt out? Why are you automatically putting me in? So that will be one of the top topics that we start addressing right away, because that is a top concern.
And I think the short answer is the state law requires it to be done that way, right?
Yes.
So it's not us if you want to blame somebody.
Right.
Allison Torres.
Yeah, just wanted to piggyback on this, that we do have talking points on the website under resources in the community outreach kit, that if you someone does come up to you and is just starting a rumor like to your face, or you see it on social media or something like that, we do have talking points that we produced the last time we launched, and they're still accurate, they're still good to go. So in case you need just like quick points to reference, they are on the website there, along with a lot of other helpful resources. And so just wanted to make sure that the new community advisory committee members are aware of those resources that are on there for you.
Great, good reminder for all of us. Thanks, Allison. Deborah, then Kevin.
Yeah, I was just curious about the formatting for city meetings moving into that. Do they do presentations? They have a video? I'm just questioning. And then do they have something at the city hall that provides like Q&A flyers, or, you know, small cards that you can link, you know, you can do a QR code on that and link right into the website, or anything like that at the actual city facilities for each one of our cities, especially during enrollment?
We did not have anything specific in city Del Mar or Carlsbad city halls, but I think that's a great idea, and we'll develop something, because I think the QR code is a great tool now that we can utilize and put out there. So that's a great suggestion.
Just to piggyback on that before we go to Kevin, one of the decisions Escondido as a city and San Marcos as a city will make is what power supply option they choose for their city facilities. So as our committee reps to those cities, please encourage them to choose the 100% green. It's not only good for everybody, but it helps us set the standard in their community that the city has chosen that. So Kevin.
So it's just a quick question, and I wonder if we couldn't just put some type of a link or a notice on each specific city's home website. A lot of people would go to our city website, and if they found information there, that might point them to the, you know, our website here for the Energy Alliance. Would that be an option?
Chime in on that?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So with our first launch with Carlsbad, Del Mar, and Solana Beach, we did work with their IT staff to make sure that some of them had some landing pages, for example, for their climate action plans. So we have on those pages, we made sure that the Clean Energy Alliance was listed, and any other way, if they had like a larger web page that was addressing clean energy and their progress toward getting a CCA in their city, because up till that point, some of those cities have been doing their own communications leading up to the launches. We had them kind of redirect that language to, it's now Clean Energy Alliance as our power provider, and so it would link back to our website. So we do have it on our list to work with IT staffs in San Marcos and Escondido to do the same thing. So yes, perfect. Thank you for that feedback.
Good idea. Deborah, go ahead.
Yeah, were they open to letting you put something front and center during the enrollment period? Like front and center on the opening, you know, something.
We can ask. We don't control the city websites, but we can certainly ask.
Well, I was just wondering, for the ones that you worked with, did they redirect you off the front, or did they believe that you needed to be embedded in a link and a link and a link to get to the climate action stuff? I just, you know, during open enrollment, it would be nice to have it front forward. I just wondered if you had any resistance on that, and that's why you landed on the.
I don't know, Sarah or the Alleys or Barbara, do you know the answer to that?
I don't know that we specifically asked if we could be on their homepage, but we will, you know, be sure to ask that specifically when the mailers are going out. It could be helpful. The other thought that I had with regards to that is frequently cities do mass newsletters, you know, and so we can ask to be in those newsletters that we have, you know, a short, you know, article with a link to our website that is going to their communities as we get closer.
Very good. All right, I'm not seeing any other hands. I had a couple of questions myself, and I think I know the answers, but maybe not. Are there any special constituencies in Escondido or San Marcos that we haven't dealt with in Del Mar, Solana Beach, and Carlsbad? And I'm specifically thinking agriculture. Is there a lot of field agriculture or greenhouse agriculture or home orchard agriculture that are using power that we might want to reach out to perhaps through the Farm Bureau? Even if there's not a whole lot of that, it's a valued community aspect in most of those communities. And I wouldn't want to see the agricultural industry come out against us for any reason. So let's see if anybody has an answer to that, and then I'll ask my second question, and then we'll come back to you, Rick.
Well, I was going to answer that question.
Go for it then, please.
So we still have avocados in Escondido. We don't have a lot of greenhouses or something like that, and the citrus is virtually gone, but we do have quite a few avocado grows.
And do they consume much power for that? Maybe not, but just water, unless they're moving water around.
That's what I was going to say. Only if they're pumping water.
Yeah, one of the things that we do as part of our outreach that's more specific is that we look at who our top, 50 customers are in each community, and make sure that we reach out to them, engage them, and offer to do bill comparisons and answer questions. Sometimes when we were doing the enrollments in Escondido or Carlsbad and Del Mar, there were some that engaged with us, and there were others that just said, we'll let you know if we have questions, kind of a thing. So but we will do the same thing with Escondido and San Marcos.
Good. And on the same line, I know in Carlsbad, at least, the small business community was a big issue about how to get them on board, probably less so in Del Mar and Solana Beach. But I suspect that will be a big issue in Escondido and San Marcos as well, so that we will be outreaching to them specifically, I assume.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead, Chair.
I was just saying, the final question was, are there any language minorities in either of these communities that we haven't dealt with before, Samoan or Filipino, or anything that we should be reaching out to in Escondido or San Marcos? I don't know. Anybody else know? If you do, chime up. Otherwise, Deborah, you're up again.
Well, you just brought up a question I had about medical facilities, with large hospitals. You're going to go down that road. We do not have them in the cities that are onboarded right now, like Palomar. And I think that I don't know if they're direct. You said direct access. I don't know if they're in that, but that would certainly be.
Good point. I think Tri-City is in Vista, right? And is it a Kaiser or Palomar is in Escondido? There are some big hospital operations that I don't think we otherwise have.
Yeah, and hospitals sometimes have, significant generators and self-generation, and have very unique, what we need to take into account their uniqueness in terms of, what they have on site as well. And we try to engage with them so we understand from our standpoint what serving them means, because that's very important. I did want to touch back on the local publications, and Sarah had mentioned Coast News, but I do want to ask, are there other local publications or that we should have on our list and make sure that we have a connection with in your cities?
And I would suggest, if you have a large homeowners association, a big complex in your city, and you can give us a HOA contact, definitely those are outreachable. Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, sure. There's the Escondido Times Advocate, whatever it's called, and there's a couple of those. The paper. I will, when I send you the other information, I'll send you the list of the local papers. Sure.
Yeah, it would also be helpful if there are. I don't know what the term is for them, but if there are newspapers or newsletters or groups that tend to put out misinformation, or could be who we want to at least try and give the facts to, we may not be able to sway them to communicate the facts, but for a committee member, Shade's point, we want to hit things head on and be in front of them. And so if there are those kind of groups that we want to say, hey, let's reach out to them for, ahead of time and talk to them and ask them what their concerns might be or what information they might want, I think would be very helpful.
Yeah, there are a couple of community blogs, so to speak, that do that kind of thing, and I'll put that on my list too.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. All right, Jennifer, then Deborah.
I just wanted to share a local publication called San Elijo Life. They have a website, and also they have a newspaper that they distribute once every month or every couple months.
Thank you.
And what does it, is that a San Marcos publication for San Elijo Hills?
Oh yeah, sorry. It's San Marcos, so it covers all of San Elijo Hills, which is a pretty large population. So
Yeah. All right, thank you, Deborah.
Have you considered purchasing Facebook time ads? That, you know, you pick the zip code you wanted to deliver, you pick the demographic age group you want to deliver, and it'll cross-pollinate and deliver through Instagram as well. I mean, you can reach a ton of people. You have to have the right kind of Facebook account, but it's very, very effective.
Anybody know the answer to that? I don't think we have that at the moment, and I don't know if we have any money in the budget for it. But have you
I
guys
can
thought
answer
about
the
that?
question. Yeah, I can answer that. So that's what I was kind of referring to earlier. We're doing that right now, and we are targeting the San Marcos and Escondido areas, and I believe we're also just targeting our other service areas as well. It's a general engagement campaign that we're going after, but we started it now in order to build that base. So we're trying to introduce the San Marcos and Escondido constituents to our social media platforms to be a place where they can receive information. So that's happening right now, and we have budget behind that.
Have you thought about using that same platform to recruit customers, like that level that, you know, actually opting, you know, are not opting out, or like for our new enrollees, or just for building the click rates?
So in the past, let's see, Byron, you can probably supplement this answer a little bit better. I think that our approach for this particular launch is different from our first launch for a lot of reasons. We're more established now, and we have some legitimacy that we've gained from all of the cities that we're currently in, and the work that we're doing to enter into new cities. But so prior to this, no, we haven't done any like sponsored ads or anything like that as far as language regarding opting. I guess like the approach that I would take to that is not necessarily alerting people to the opting out, because it's not something that's required in the space. It would maybe be more so an encouragement for opting up if we were to do something like that. Barb, if you want to talk about that a little bit more, but that's
Yeah.
the approach I would take. Yeah.
Yeah, we would use it to communicate the benefits, right? And so if I remember when we were going through enrollment last time, we ended up doing it was like a did you know campaign, right? Because we took the information that we heard that was kind of circulating the misinformation, and we broke it up into little bites of social media posts that were on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram that would address that particular topic. And so we would do the same thing with Facebook. You know, as we see or we hear things or we read about things, then, you know, we will address it through our media. But we will likely, in our Facebook, because we'll be at in-person events, we'll have opportunities to say, we're coming, we're going to be here, come talk to us. And then we'll be able to post pictures while we're there. You know, we'll have the opportunity to have a little bit of different engagement that's not just on the computer, but gives us like something interesting to look at, right? Pictures. Oh, what are they doing? And why are they doing that? And I'll go talk to them at this place. So we will have opportunities to use the platforms in, I think, a more effective way, because our opportunities to talk to people are going to be better.
Yeah, I guess I'm just suggesting the idea of paid advertising that's pushed out, because if you don't have a follower base, you know, if you post, just not going to make any difference. Nobody's going to, I mean, you will have readers, but they won't be, and it's super effective.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that expensive. So I would explore that with the ideas you just shared, but just, you know, almost like a paid, like pushing that out.
Yep. We're doing that now, and we plan to continue to have that as part of our toolkit of outreach. Yep.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have thoughts, questions, comments, concerns about this topic? I think we're about to wrap it up, but let me ask Susan, is there anybody on the line from the public that wanted to comment on this agenda item 3?
We have no requests.
Yeah, and before we wrap up, I did want to share the chart that shows what our growth is from the expansions.
Yeah, please do, Barbara. And while you're loading that up, Paige, I see your hand is up again. Did you want to make a comment?
I just wanted to ask some non-agenda item questions from my public that have come up in the last few days, if that's appropriate, before we close.
Let's just hold that, let Barbara finish what she's doing, and then we'll let you ask those and see if we're in a position to answer them or not.
Okay, and hopefully my screen will advance. But so this is the numbers, and then I have it as a chart. So currently we serve about 66,000 accounts. And then load, which refers to how much electricity do we sell, is 650 gigawatt hours. Gigawatts is how they measure it when you are large. When we add Escondido and San Marcos, we almost triple. We get to 160,000. So it's a very significant growth or I guess we more than double for Clean Energy Alliance. And then we'll be serving 1,540 gigawatt hours. So 142% increase in the number of accounts and 137% increase when you look at the amount of electricity sold. And then when we take into account Oceanside and Vista, that gets us to just under 275,000 accounts. So 71% increase from the 5-city agency and 60% in load. So did the slide advance to a chart? To a graph?
No, we're still looking at the
Okay.
chart.
So then what we've done is we've looked at, okay, where do we fit in the state in terms of size, comparing ourselves to CCAs throughout the state. So all of the other CCAs are blue and we are orange. So this small orange bar is where we are today with our 3 cities. After and we're 16th in the state by number of accounts. Once we enroll Escondido and San Marcos, we will become the 12th in the state. And then in April 2024, after Oceanside and Vista, by number of accounts, we will be 10th in the state. Clean Power Alliance in LA and Ventura County is the largest. San Diego Community Power is the 2nd largest in the state. Now that they're fully enrolled. And then looking at it by amount of energy sold, I think we're roughly in the same places there by load with the top 2, Clean Power Alliance and San Diego Community Power. So we will, we have significant growth coming, and look forward to adding them and bringing in those community advisory committee members. Escondido and San Marcos, Oceanside and Vista, once they are full members, we will advertise those openings for community advisory committee.
Thanks for that, Barbara. And would you comment? I know we were dating San Clemente, but I've kind of broken that off and explain why and where we stand with San Clemente. And then given the chart you just showed us, are we still looking to expand further, or are we pretty comfortable where we are with Oceanside and Vista?
So General Counsel, can I answer those questions?
Those are a little bit outside of the topic area. Maybe they should be addressed offline, or maybe agendize a topic next time for more general questions.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of those today, so maybe we can work in the future to include a more general kind of state of CEA type discussion.
Yeah, maybe we can work up an agenda item for committee member general questions or something so that we can talk about some of these things next time. This isn't urgent, so let's just skip over those questions for the moment. Anybody else got something they want to bring up? I'm not seeing a hand. So Barbara, can you give us a preview of what to expect at our next meeting? Which is October 6th.
Yeah, let me look at me revisit our work plan. So our discussion, our work plan for the October 6th meeting is to begin discussing community education outreach and training plan. This was one of the topics at the Community Advisory Committee when we were developing our recommendation to the board for things to work on for this year was a priority. And specifically to talk about helping people understand what they can do to impact or reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So greenhouse gas reduction strategies, but as an individual homeowner or an individual, what are things that they can do that would help to reduce help us meet our climate action plan goals and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we will be bringing that up as a topic for discussion.
Excellent. Okay, then before we adjourn, let me just encourage those of you who are on subcommittees to meet at your convenience. And if I can help with any of the subcommittees, please let me know. I'll be happy to do so. And Paige, you have a real hand up.
Well, I think a couple of my questions could fall under this agenda item. First of all, I wanted to know whether with the drop in SCG&E rates, whether our opt-out rate increased, and what is our current opt-out rate?
Am I able to answer those questions?
I think she's asking them in relation to outreach strategies for Escondido and San Marcos. Is that correct?
Well, you had a slide on the increase, the decrease in rate, talked about SCG&E rates. I just wondered in conjunction with that, whether or not our opt-out rates have increased.
Yeah, I receive statistics from the call center monthly. So I haven't yet seen the statistics for July, but we typically, as rates fluctuate, we don't typically see a significant change in opt-outs. So I don't expect there to be, because they would have alerted me if they started seeing, a big jump all of a sudden.
And do you know what that rate is right now? About?
Yeah, we stay right in the 92.4% participation rate, 5%. We move point something, every month. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, but we're pretty steady.
Okay, and in conjunction to the website changes with the prices on the homepage, do you know what % of our customers that aren't in Solana Beach, because they're already dumped into 100%, have actually opted up to 100%?
Okay, so on that one, that was a past agenda item. So unless we're going to go, back and reopen that agenda item, I would recommend that maybe Barb sent you an email about that.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you for that, Elizabeth and Barbara. I think we are done unless anybody has a final question or comment they want to make. And let me just check.
I think I can speak to this. In the every staff report, which is on our website, there's a CEO report, and included in there is statistics about opt-out rates and how many are enrolled in each of our different power supply products.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Let me just check with Susan to be extra careful. Is there anybody on the line that wanted to comment on this final item of our future agenda?
There is not.
All right, then thank you all. I think we are done. Thank you for attending the meeting. And Elizabeth, glad to have you here. And we'll see you all October 6th.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.